What lurks beneath your motorbike?
RevelatorAlf.
I've no idea why I'm talking into this because it's not even connected, but there we go. Right, this video is all about the underbelly of your motorbike or your car or whatever it is, and what hidden horrors are lurking there. What, well, maybe even treasures, you never know. So if you watch my last video, you'll notice that I haven't been doing a lot of riding of late because of various factors. So that meant I had lots of time to poke around the bike and start looking in the nether regions to see what I could find. Yes, it's amazing what you can get up to when you're bored. Right, did you know that some of the Harley-Davidson wheels, in fact I think all the Harley-Davidson wheels, are stamped with a HD on there, on the hub? I did not know that. Mine certainly has. Maybe you want to check yours to see if yours are stamped with a HD. Also, did you know that on the underside of the frame there are holes in the frames, or there might be threaded holes as well, but nothing's in them? Totally random holes, totally random threaded bits as well, where you think something should be attached, or bolts should be in there, or a screw should be in there, but no, nothing. Unless something's fallen off, of course. Then again, it's probably always wise to check if something's hanging off your bike, or something might have fallen off. And if the bike's still rideable, I suppose just crack on with it. That's probably the worst advice ever. Do you know what I mean? You might want to get it checked out. But, do you know what I mean? Yeah, I found lots of things embedded in there as well. Lots of leaves and twigs, which is kind of to be expected if you're riding in winter months and autumn months, as I have been of late. But also face masks. I found a trap face mask in there as well. I found a half-eaten sandwich and also a little toy car. No, I didn't. I just made that last bit up. But, you know, you find the odd little things trapped in there. Always check around your battery area. A few weeks ago I did a video where I removed the battery, and the amount of muck and filth that was around the battery was just incredible. I had to get the old scraper out and the hoover out just to get it all clean. So there's lots of areas on your bike that you never even look at. Just imagine when you're sort of washing the bike, right? You tend to wash the surface, well, the surface, obviously the surface, but the periphery of the bike. You know, if you've got a sports bike, you wash all the plastics. But how often do you get into the engine and start cleaning the engine? I'm not very methodical, okay, so, and I really don't like washing bikes. In fact, if I could get somebody else to do it, I much prefer that. But there is a case to answer that the things that you can see, you don't really need to worry about. It's the stuff that you can't see, that's the stuff that you really need to pay attention to. And maybe having a good look under the bike is what you really should be doing on a regular basis. The problem is, the more that you look, the more that you find. And the more that you find, the more horrors that are there, the more holes, the more threaded parts, maybe bolts that are in there that you're wondering, why is there a bolt there or a threaded hole there? You just don't know. What does this little strap do? What does that little bit there do? And you start scratching your head and trying to dig around and ask what's going on. Now, one of the things that I found was on the underside of the footrest, the foot pegs, it's got a little threaded hole as well, and this is for little feeler tips or scraper tips, and these you would normally find on a sports bike, footrest, foot pegs, that kind of thing, so that when you're leaning the bike over, it kind of gives you an early indication that you're leaning the bike a little bit too over. And I won't go into the whole reason why you really shouldn't lean the bike too far over. You need to hang off the bike and keep the bike more upright. It's all to do with contact patches and all that kind of weird stuff. Anyway, but the question is, you know, some people would take them out straight away because it's kind of limited your lean angle, and others leave them in there to purposely scrape them so it's like a badge of honour. Fine, I get it. But why have them on a cruiser bike? Why have them on a tourer bike? Especially the bike that I ride, the Sport Glide, the Harley-Davidson Sport Glide, the lean angles on them are pretty atrocious anyway. So why have these little tips in there anyway? It doesn't really make sense to me, you know. And let's face it, you're not really going to bank the bike over that much. They're more for a leisurely ride, although it's very good in the bends. So you can buy these from Harley-Davidson. Look, I'll put the diagram up there, and there's a little tip in there, and I think they're about £4 or £5. You can buy them, but you've got to ask yourself why. Also, the other thing, which I didn't know, I've just found this out recently, you can't buy universal tips to go in the footrest. It really depends on the make and the model, the brand of the motorcycle. They might have their own. Now, you could just find some random bolts to put in there, but then again, why would you do it? So here's the thing, you know, people have been asking me this coincidentally. You know, people have been sending me emails and messages on Facebook recently saying, you know, I've just found this hole, or I've just found this threaded part, what does it mean? And I think, well, actually, let me have a look at my bike. Oh yeah, it's exactly the same on my bike. If you don't look, you don't know. So there are holes and there are bits and pieces hanging off your bike on the underside, or stuff that might get trapped in there, and you have no idea it's there. So you can either live in ignorant bliss and never look under the bike and maybe just give it a good old pressure wash under there every now and again. Maybe you should, maybe you shouldn't. Scrub it with a brush every now and again and try and keep it reasonably clean, or just totally ignore it. I mean, you know, it's up to you. As I say, this is not the best advice out there, I'm sure, but there's possibly a much better way of doing it, and that's just to get somebody else to detail your bike every now and again and just protect the underside with a bit of anti-corrosive paint or spray or stuff like that. You know, I'm sure there's lots of how-to videos out there how to do that, and this video isn't that. It's more about what you can discover that lurks beneath the bike, or in the little nooks and crannies, you know, around the starter motor, around the battery area, in between the cylinders, that kind of thing. Things that are tucked away, that are never seen, and they could be there for about 10-20 years if you've got that bike long enough and you never really look in there. So there we go, something learned by me the last few days, for all the little things that can be trapped in your bike and you didn't even know were there, or lots of holes and lots of bolts or threaded holes that you're thinking, well, what's all that about? If you remember, I did a video well over a year ago now where there's a hole, threaded hole, right in the top of the transmission area as well, on the gearbox, on the Harleys, that is, on the Softails, and nobody seems to know what it's for, why it was there. And as I say, the more you dig into it, the more you'll give yourself a headache, because you'll find more of these things. So, you know, markings on wheels, markings on frames, holes, as I say, threaded holes, things on the footrest as well. They're all over the place. So if you're really bored, and as I say, if you're really bored and you want to give yourself a headache, go do what I've just been doing for the last couple of weeks, and looking under the underside of the bike, or with a magnifying glass, and seeing what you can find. But there we go. Actually, don't do that. Do not do what I've just said to do, because you'll give yourself a hernia, honestly. Anyway, but as I say, you really should keep your bike clean, and if you're anything like me, you're not really methodical, you're not really meticulous about these kinds of things, probably get somebody else to do it, or take it down the local car wash place and get them to do it if you trust them, or to the dealership if you're still on talking terms with the dealership, and get them to wash it for you if you trust them to do it, that is. You know, anyway, lots of information on the website, all the technical stuff about the bikes, petrol bikes, electric bikes, Harley Davidson stuff, all different sorts of manufacturers, tech stuff. It's all going to be on the website from now on, so go check that out, RevelatorAlf.com. and if you like what I do, subscribe, hit that bell, and like and share the video, and leave your comments below. Let us know what you found under your bike, whatever bike it is, whether it's a sports bike, whether it's an adventure bike, a little 125, whatever it is, whether it's a cruiser, Harley Davidson, Indian, whatever it is. Let us know what kind of odd things, the oddities that you found on your bike and you didn't even know were there. Right, after giving myself a headache for scrutinising my bike a little bit too much, I'm going to go and have a little rest. But see you on the next video. Ta-da!